welcome back to the channel. Today's episode, we're working on the sills. Okay, so now I've got to work on a little piece down in this section, this piece here. A little rust repair, there's a little flat lip that's supposed to sit on that section there. Got to clean up these holes where there's been some spot welds drilled out, so I'll start cleaning it up. I found the same size thickness steel so that I can fix this piece. Now, as you can see, she's pretty rusty. It's just surface rust, so there's no problems with that. So let's get it back to bare metal and we'll be done. Okay, so now this piece is all cleaned up. We're not using any of the bottom section because then again it is only that small, so we're not working with too much. The welder works better when it is clean steel. Right here is going to replace that there so that I can reuse that. There's not really any point trying to fill in those holes. Now you can see where I've gotten it a bit too hot. That's where it's blown through, but it's all good. Just weld it back up again. Alright, so as you can see, there's a couple holes in this piece that I need to fill up. I drilled them out because there are a few little rust holes so that the whole area is clean and fresh steel. Now I've got some copper here. Copper can absorb heat without melting, so I'm going to put the copper behind it and weld it up, so then we can weld those holes and finish them up. Pretty happy with how that turned out. That was the piece that I remade on that section in there, and I remade this whole piece along that bit and that square in there. I'm not going to bother grinding back too many of the welds to make it look too pretty, because at the end of the day you're not going to see it. It's going to be hidden away behind the sill. As you can see here, we've got the sill. This is the bottom section that this little piece came out of. It should sit up in there like that. So that piece that I cut out, that I've remade, all sits on the inside in there. So you definitely won't be able to see it whatsoever because there is still sheet metal that goes over the top, and then you've got your sill that sits underneath. So now another thing that I got to do, which I'll start working on now, is this sill right here. This piece is supposed to sit up along there like that. Now my problem is I've got a gap like that. That should be as close to touching that piece up along there. So now we got to make a little section to fit in that piece. So let's start welding that up. So this is the piece that I've gotten from another cab. This is going to be the rust repair to fill in that gap that I showed you in that piece. Now I've already started getting this to fit. I've cleaned up the edges on both sides so it's ready to weld. Now my problem is that doesn't line up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tack it on the edge that matches along this line here. Keep that in place, and then hopefully, if it works, we can bend this edge along here up to meet this side. So this piece is all fully done. Let's see if it fits. Now that this section is done, it will end up going in there like so. Now I will need to trim this so that it fits up against this edge nicely. Okay, so now it's time to work on this section here. It is quite rusty, as you can see. Now we will keep half of it. We're going to cut off the section that we don't need where we can't reuse, but we will use this top half. This section is off another cab. We're going to basically, because it's the other side, we need to remake it and replicate it to like that. So I've started off by going like this. You imagine that's going to be the opposite. That's about where that's going to sit, like that. Now we've got to remake that to be the opposite. I've already gotten this little piece here. This piece is going to sit roughly like that, but if you imagine it, it's going to end up sitting like that because it's the opposite. This section in here is a little bit tricky because, as you can see down here, it actually widens out as it comes up. So, and it also bends down. So this comes down like that and also has that bend. So we're going to try and make this in about 3 parts, I think. So going to make this first section like that. We'll make another section that comes down the top like that. and then we'll do this other lip on the edge separately, just so it makes our life a bit easier. I've just gotten the template of the steel that I need for making this piece. Now I've based it off this section. I put sticky tape along there and then drew the outlines of the shape that I need. I kind of forgot that I was only making that much instead of making this whole section. So I did cut out way too much because that's the same height as that, and I only need that much, which is that tiny. But anyway, I've realised that it actually has turned out for the better of me, because I can get the thickness of the top and it will actually line up properly with this, and it won't just be guessing. So that actually helped me, alright, but I probably wouldn't do it that way again. But anyway, it's helping me. Now I've started bending this up. I'm going off this side, and at the moment I've been going onto this. I've got a bit of a steel pipe, and I've actually been twisting it to try and get that downward curve. That piece is there, and that's actually not looking too bad. This piece is all finished up. I'm really happy with how this turned out. It was definitely quite tricky to do. I do have a few little overhang pieces on this edge just so that we can fit it up nicely when it actually goes back on the car, so they will get trimmed off. It's crazy to think that this little corner in here, that's all that's left of the original piece. Now, that is what was sitting in there, and that basically the rest of that was all non-existent. So yeah, it's good to get that done. Now, if you look at this, it's pretty accurate compared to the other side that I was working off. And if you look down that edge, it looks pretty symmetrical. So really happy with that. Now, while I was making that piece today, the old man was giving me a hand doing this piece. He cut out most of this section, which I'm very grateful for. He did a good job. We were just planning on trying to fix the little rust holes that are in it, as you can see in the video right now. Now, the holes are in it. They were definitely quite big. So, and to even get in this area with like the amount of room that we had, we just couldn't fill them in. So, cut it all out, and we'll make our life a lot easier. So, very happy that he did that, so thank you, and we'll be on to the next thing. These sills are going to get done very, very soon.